when I left Essence and left my good paycheck, I didn't necessarily expect the business to pay me what the job had paid me. Because I was building a business, I was an employee. I can't expect, and I had been doing journalism all my life. This whole thing of growing a bed and breakfast collection was new. So sometimes I think we also expect our businesses to pay us what nursing paid us, and we've been a nurse for 30 years. And we're just starting out in this business that we're trying to build, and we're expecting it to pay us the same money. Doesn't necessarily happen. So you really have to get serious with yourself and say, well, how much money do I need to live on? What can get me through? And that's what I had to do. How much money, what can get me through? And at the end of the day, I decided to grow my businesses, which I think was the other part of your question, because I believe that your life plan has to be in sync with your business plan. So you probably go to workshops and everybody's talking about the business plan, the growth plan. Well, what's the life plan? Did you really stop and think about that? For me, my life plan was, this is bodacious, I'm gonna warn you right now. I'm a girl who was raised in Washington, D.C., a house with 7 people and 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. That's who I am. I never slept in a bed by myself until I was 22, because there was always my sister next to me. And we were always both queen size, sleeping in a twin size bed. So that's the reality. So for me, my life plan was, I had 2. I watched my parents work until they couldn't work any longer. I'm from Washington, D.C., so the goal was you work for the government until you can't work anymore, get your gold watch, and you live a couple more years and you die and you had a good life. Well, I decided, no, I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, so the goal was to retire at age 50. So that was the pact that my husband and I had. We're gonna retire at age 50, we're out, right? For him, he meant all the way out. Put the resignation in, the remote, the whole thing. For me, I was gonna have the businesses, but I wasn't going to run them every day. And I wasn't gonna let them run me, right? So that meant I didn't have to be the one to scramble the eggs in the morning or make the beds or unclog the toilet or anything like that. I wanted to be the keeper of the brand. I wanted to spot check each location, make sure everybody's doing what they need to do, be the face of the brand, and that was my form of retirement, right? So that was our goal. We started at 42 years of age. My husband and I are not equally yoked when it comes to business. I'm a workaholic, I admit, and he was in a union, and he, believes in mandatory breaks. When he would complain that I would say, well, I need you to go down to the building down the street, the light bulb is out, the tenant called, I would get, this is the sound. If you have a partner in business or, you got a partner period in life and you're in business, you may hear the sound. Nothing drives me crazier than that. That side, I'm like, really, dude? I just did this, and now I will list it all. I asked you to change a light bulb, and I got, really? That sound would drive me crazy. So I would say to my husband, since when we said we're 42, we're gonna retire at 50, when I would get, he would give me pushback, and I would say, 8 more years, 7 more years, 6 more years, and then I would get him a little bit more encouraged, right? Then we turned 50, and then I totally reneged. He put in his resignation, I reneged, and did the mansion in Noble Lane in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And I said, I just need you to do one last thing with me. You don't have to ever even come. You don't even have to come up there. I'm not going to ask anything, but before you put your resignation in, can you bring your W-2 form to the bank with me? This is what I need. And that was the deal. He's like, okay, I'm going to sign, but I don't want to have anything to do with the business. And literally, up until the television show, my husband would come, I don't know, maybe 3 times a year to the Pocono. He's like, when you coming home? I'm not even, because he was a little mad, a little jealous, because I reneged, and I understand that, I was wrong. But I felt like I lived life with no regrets, for real. And I felt like if I didn't stretch myself, and that's what it requires sometimes, ladies, if I didn't stretch myself and try to make this happen, that would be a regret. And because of what I paid for the mansion, because I'm supposed to talk numbers, right? Because of what I paid for the mansion in Pennsylvania as well, my thought was, as long as we just get this thing, lock it down, let's make sure there's airtight, watertight, secure, we don't have to do anything. This will be our daughter's project. And I really went into it feeling like, it's okay, I don't have to ever launch, but I'm gonna lock this piece of real estate down. And it had a carriage house, which was in good shape. The sellers were living there, and I thought, the carriage house alone is worth what we repay. So we're gonna have a little weekend house. And I wanted to circle back to the life plan matching the business plan and why I told the story of my sister and how I was raised. My bodacious thought, and I call it intention because dreaming with my eyes wide open, was that I wanted to have a home that I love in a city that I love for each season of the year. How about that? Why can't I have that? So how do I make that happen? How does the girl, right, who didn't sleep in the bed by herself until she was 22 years old, make that happen? So I thought the bed and breakfast was the way to do that. So I'm very purposeful in terms of where they are, and they're only 4 because I've been married 28 years. I'd like to see number 29. So Washington, D.C. is my hometown. I love being there in the spring. So there's D.C. for the spring and the cherry blossoms. Cape May, New Jersey is on the shore. So I'm there for the summer. I love New York in the fall. And the winter, it wasn't the Poconos, believe me. I don't ski. I like ski sweaters, I like hot toddy, but not skiing. And the 4th one was in New Orleans. And I said, that's where I want to be. When it's cold most every place else, I want to be in New Orleans. So I opened in New Orleans, and we opened July 4th weekend during the Essence Festival. We had this fantastic grand opening. It was amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful property. You know, banana trees and the pool and the porches and the swings, just beautiful. A month later, we had an unexpected guest. Y'all know her? No, not, you said Oprah? Listen, no. Katrina showed up at the front door a month after we were in business. So our business didn't flood, but it drowned. And it crushed me. You know, you try to plan and anticipate and prepare, but how do you prepare for something like Katrina? To be honest with you, I left New Orleans the day before the storm came, and because it was supposed to go to Florida, so I didn't even know. I didn't close the shutters. You know how those houses have lovely shutters? I didn't close the shutters. I didn't take the swing off the porch, so the swing ended up in the window, and you know, I just didn't know. And when we came and we started watching it, we were like, well, we're not, it looks like the Ninth Ward is the place that got hurt. And I was like, well, thank God we're not there. And then somebody said, yeah, you're in the Ninth Ward. I'm like, what? I thought it was called the Bywater. Like, yeah, that's what the real estate people call it. You're in the Ninth Ward. And then it was like, you know, petrified. And even though I've been really good at, in the past, of making, you know, lemonade from my lemons, I had to learn to make lemon meringue pie. And so I started to think of what can I do? No tourism's coming, what can happen here? And so, you know what, that's when we, those with vision, the entrepreneurs, the risk takers, we come up with plan B. And then we have a plan C and D waiting as well, right? So the plan B, when it happened, I was like, what do we do? Who needs to come here? Insurance companies. I called Allstate, Nationwide, every insurance company I could, because all the adjusters were coming to assess the damage and to satisfy the claims. So I had a whole year of business with insurance adjusters. And then the second year, I was like, so now what? That's done. Well, then it became people coming back to check on the work that was being done on their homes. So I had to change my model completely. No bed and breakfast, no breakfast, you know. And it was more like a rooming house, I guess. We were very precise about who we chose, and those people became a family to one another. And they could use the kitchen and just have full use of the place. I put little mini refrigerators in their rooms. And so I guess it was like Airbnb, before Airbnb, which I hate to use that word. That's a whole nother story. Talk about industry disruptors, but anyway. Yeah, so that's what we had to do. And then finally sold it and was able to do the project in the Poconos. So, wow, that was a lot of answers to questions you didn't even ask. But I hope that it had some value.
Yeah, no, and you actually touched upon a lot of things. And one of the overarching things that I love about you and your story, and I think something that I struggle with, is that risk-taking, like the financial risk-taking. And I wanted to talk to you, and I guess a good example would be failures and then successes. ROI, return on investment. When you are about to spend the money or get the loan or go into a venture that you know is going to be expensive and you can lose it all, do you have a philosophy on money? Are you just sort of like, it'll work out? Like what allows you to make that leap to spend the money? Because I think for a lot of us, especially again, coming from a 9-to-5, or whatever situation we're in where we're making cushy money, I think there's always a fear of, what if this doesn't work out and then I'm broke, you know?
Well, first of all, there's no investment that's a better investment than me. I'm gonna bet on me every time.
Yes.
So I hope that you feel that way about yourself. Invest in you. Because the job that we think is cushy, it ain't too cushy, to be honest with you. It just ain't, because you don't control that. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, who they selling it to, you know, what new boss is coming in, who didn't hire you, therefore feels no allegiance to you. All of those things happen, right? So for me, I'm going to go back to what I said before. When you have a plan A, B, C, and D, there's very little room for failure, because you have an alternative plan, just in case. Now, my daughter, who's a millennial, doesn't think that way. She's like, I don't want a plan B, C, or D, because then I won't work that hard for plan A to happen. I'm like, what? For me, I don't even see that. No, I am determined. I'm like, yeah, no, plan B, C, and D. When I went to open in DC, again, it's the same concept, but you're moving to a new market. So you don't know whether that market is going to be as responsive. So when I bought the bed and breakfast in DC, I thought, okay, so if this doesn't work, then what? I'm like, okay. I paid for the bed and breakfast in DC $950,000, which was a little bit of money compared to what things go for in DuPont Circle. But I didn't know that because I'm from DC. So I had way sticker shock when I saw something approaching the $1 million mark. That was 12 years ago. And I thought, well, I discovered that right next to me, those were condos, the same building. And each floor of the condo was $500,000. So I knew immediately, like, you got a deal. You got a deal. This is my challenge, by the way, with running my business, knowing that the real estate has more value than the business. This is my challenge, right? Because, you know, we should be talking about highest, greatest use of everything, but I'm emotionally attached to what I do. So I thought we can make this condos, and I figured out, okay, this would be a common area because it's a center stair. So I had the condo idea. I work at Howard University now 3 days a week. Yes, I have 10 jobs. I do. You didn't know that, did you? Yes, I'm at Howard Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. I'm playing hooky today. But I'm chair of entrepreneurship there. And I went to Howard, and so I realized that you could walk from my place in DC, the bed and breakfast there at the Howard's campus. I was like, woo, this is dorm living at its best. You know, so I figured out how that would work for graduate students could live there. And then my next door neighbor on the other side, one condo on the other side is the National Association of Geographers. And I thought, some other association needs a headquarters. I got embassies around the corner. What embassy wants to hang their flag right here? So that was plan C. So when you have all of that, and plan D was sell the thing, get out. So there is no failure. Where's the failure? I had all of those options lined up. So I think that's what I would say to you. To be realistic about what your expectation is from your business. You know, decide again, how much does this business need to make me for me to feel like this is worth doing, you know? And at the end of the day, you may make a little less than the paycheck, but you then become the controller of your destiny. You decide how hard you're gonna work, what your goals are gonna be for your business, if you deserve a raise or not. You may have to get, you may fire yourself. You may have to get to that point. Hire somebody who knows more than you do. Let them be the day-to-day operators. But you get to make that decision. So I think when you do that, and ultimately when you replace faith with fear, come on now, you're ready to go. You're ready to go.